Alright. Alright, sounds good. Okay, so this is Abuse. Speedrun on the Wimp difficulty. And gonna go in 3, 2, 1, go. Hello everyone. So this is Abuse. It's a 2D side-scrolling action game released in 1996, developed by a company called Crack.com. Before I get into any description of the story or the game, I need to mention, so we start on level 0. There's a total of 21 levels, and level 0 is a tutorial level, as you can see by the messages, and the tutorial level has a secret section with a bunch of teleporters to various levels in the game. And in this version of the game, we can take a teleporter directly to level 3. So here you see it says finish level 0. When we finish this level, it'll say finish level 3, and then we'll continue from there on normally as intended. So, and that's just built into the game. But anyway, so this game was released for DOS in '96, and when it was originally released, it had a story that was about there's evil aliens, and you have power armor, and you can go and kill the aliens. However, when the game was released in other versions with a different CD cover and also for different platforms, like for example, it was released for Mac in '97, they gave it a different story about you being a prisoner unjustly sent to prison, of course. And at that prison, oh boy, there is scientists doing genetic research, and they've discovered a gene for aggression, aptly named Abuse, and there's a prison riot, and that gene is kind of exposed to the prisoners transform into monsters, and you are of course immune, and so you put on power armor that you somehow find in the prison, and your mission is to turn off the water so that the gene doesn't get out into the general population. So that's the story of the game. As you see, the action is pretty crazy. There's tons of monsters screeching, and there's a lot of weapons as well, but the main two weapons that are used in the speedrun during what I call engagements, so situations where you have a ton of enemies that you need to kill as quickly as possible and safely as possible, are the grenade launcher, the second, and the rocket launcher, the third weapon. So usually what I'm doing is I'm trying to use those as little as possible during safer sections of the game where I'm facing one or a few enemies. And during other sections of the game, when there's a lot of enemies, I'm using the serious weapons. What else? Yeah, so I mentioned there's a few versions. The first version of the game actually only had 15 levels, and allowed you to take a teleporter to level 4. So with fewer total levels and allowing you to skip 3 levels instead of 2, the speedrun of that game would be quite a bit shorter. But I chose to do speedruns of this one because it's more complete. It's the more commonly known version, the more officially known one. And also, coincidentally, it's also the version that has been much more developed into source ports for PC. So I'm currently playing on a source port by a developer called Antonio R. You can go and check him out. It's a project called Abuse STL, and he just did the most current update to that project. It included things like controller support and some more button mapping and things like that. Just little quality of life things that really make the game a lot more playable. That port also allows you to change the resolution of the game. The game by default ran at 320 by 200. So the source port allows you to upscale that so that your screen looks bigger, so you're not looking at a tiny little window. Because otherwise, if you increase the resolution of the game, you can't increase just everything gets scaled up. So effectively, you just are looking at a bigger window and everything looks smaller. And that also affects the gameplay in a different way, which is the way the game is designed. Enemies become active based on, let's say, a radius around the visible screen. So if you change what is visible on screen, you effectively change when enemies become active. And as a result, you not only do you get less consistent results if you're changing resolutions and things like that, but you also have enemies become aggressive towards you from further away, and you generally get a harder gaming experience. This is just a timer section. I don't really need to do anything specific. I just wait. Weirdly, if the ball hits you while you're running into a wall, it doesn't quite do all that much damage. I mean, I also picked up a health item, but still, that is generally what happens. So there's usually a save screen at the beginning of every single level, and in some cases I do grab those because what happens if you die, the game automatically will load the last save that you made on this level. If you did not make a save on this level, the game effectively does a map load on that level as a new game. It pretty much, I guess, just calls, like, if it was a source game, you know, it just does, you know, map load. So you have no guns. You start like a brand new game on that level. So if you're doing a speed run, that's pretty much rip run. Or you can load the last save that you made in the previous level. So generally, unless I know that the level is safe, or I know that I can get to another save screen that's safer to get to, I will save in the beginning. This section, you generally can't proceed through these cocoons without waiting for them to hatch and have to kill the enemies. Except if you jump, your hitbox slightly changes and you can jump through them, as opposed to if you run forward, you get stuck. So here we picked up the first power-up in the game, the speed booster, which allows you to run faster, but also fall faster, which is something that in some sections of the game I use to kind of speed up my falling. Then now we picked up the falling power-up, which allows you to, you know, fly. You can fly much faster if you use it and also hold the up button. We speedrun on the, or I speedrun on the lowest difficulty because you pick up a lot more health from health pickups, and I believe also enemies do a little bit less damage. And I mean, I don't know if I'm making it look easy, but this game definitely isn't easy to get into at first. The enemies are very aggressive, even on lower difficulties. If you don't, you know, anticipate things properly, use the correct ammunition, you can really start to run out of ammo, get overwhelmed, or just get killed in various sections. So it's really, really helpful to run on the lower difficulty. Definitely advised. You know, it also makes the game go faster, so why not? Oh yeah, when you have the flying power-up, you can also get stuck in just about every single ceiling like this. Oh, crap. That was atrocious. Yeah, okay. I have to redo this entire level. And actually, this is really awful because I didn't make any saves. I don't know if I'll be able to proceed properly, because I also didn't make any saves whatsoever in the entire game. I might have to reset the run. I'll try to play very, very conservatively, but I think it will go poorly. Okay, so... God damn it. Right, so this is a lesson in why you save. Hopefully I didn't get too far into the run. Hopefully it was only a couple minutes, but yeah. Probably should have made some safety saves. Sorry about that. But yeah, that just goes to show how easily you can get completely destroyed in this game. I promise in my regular runs that doesn't happen. I really should have saved. Well, you get to see the opening again. Wow, I can't believe that actually happened. Yeah, especially like rocket turrets can be extremely aggressive. I'm sorry about that. I'm getting completely distracted and uncoordinated over here. I fell down into a section of the game that I normally don't fall into. So I'm gonna quit my talking and try and focus on the game. Really sorry about that. But yeah, if anything, this is the purest example of... Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, don't reset the timer. Hopefully if the rest of the run goes fine this time around, it'll be better. But yeah, this is the purest example of why you gotta save more. Usually that section goes fine. Especially with as much health as I entered, those turrets usually don't nail you as hard as they did. But at least if you like the game, you get to see a bit more of it. Yeah, I hope whoever's watching this is finding it entertaining then. But yeah, that was really pretty bad. Well, yeah, another thing in this game, which I forgot to mention, is so there's a lot of flinching going on, both for enemies and for the player. And as a result, one of the best kind of ways to go faster in this game is to fire shots. If you hit the enemies first, you know, they flinch, and then they don't get to shoot at you, so that you don't flinch, so you go faster. So generally, you'll often find me, you know, shooting at the enemies ahead of time. Sometimes even before they're even visible on screen, just to make sure that they don't get the first shot on you. That's why I'll often be shooting the laser rifle ahead in the beginning of the game, or even later in the game, some of the other guns. Just anything to kind of keep the enemies stunned as they approach you. All right. We're almost to the point where I hecked up last time. Oh yeah, although rocket launcher ammo in the game is homing, it's I think they call it a heat-seeking rocket launcher in the game manual, and that's both for your rocket launcher and the enemies. So sometimes you get a lot of funny. Missile shots from enemies, like from turrets that kind of chase you and end up blowing up some enemy. It can be a blessing and a curse sometimes, because, you know, the enemy's rockets homing on you is generally pretty painful. But yeah, this game is pretty difficult, and even, like, sometimes I like to think to myself, like, you know, the beginning is easier, sometimes I think the ending is easier, but realistically, pretty much the entire game is fairly difficult throughout. There's really bad levels at the beginning, there's really bad levels towards the end. It never really kind of takes it easy on you. Every once in a while, there's like a slightly simpler level or a shorter level that maybe has a gimmick that you can kind of exploit, but for the most part, it's a non-stop roller coaster of abuse. Which, by the way, you know, they managed to work the name of the game into the story a little bit by naming that serum abuse, or the gene that the scientists discovered. But the developers actually, in some interview at some point, described why they called the game abuse, and they they say it's because by playing the game, the player is effectively abusing themselves, because they are fully aware, after playing the game for a little bit, that after you flip that switch, you will be attacked by hordes and hordes of monsters, and yet you're still going to do it. Usually because it's a trigger that's keeping you in place, but yeah. That's their explanation, at least. Bit of an edgy 90s justification. I'm not sure if there's any official explanation as to why they decided to change the story of the game. Kind of not even mid-development. It was after it was a full release. They made just more releases with a different story. But I like to think it's because they may have gotten in trouble with 20th Century Fox, or possibly been worried that they might get in trouble because the enemies have a really striking resemblance to the Alien from the Alien franchise. So they may have decided to kind of change it into the prisoner mutant transformation story. Alright, so this is the level where I died last time. Sorry for delay. Here I'll do the proper thing and take my save ahead of time. Trust me, there's a lot of good stuff still coming up. So, even though I kind of messed up the opening, it'll be worth it to stick around. We're still about, like, I'd say even less than a quarter through the game. And yeah, I really still can't believe that I died to that section. It was right. It was also ironically right at the very end of a level. I was literally flying up towards the level end exit. So that's a bit extra salt in the wound. But I'll just keep pushing through and I'll do the best I can with the rest. This level gets a bit dark here for some strange reason. I don't really know why. The game has slightly strange, like, lighting effects in some places. Now, there's a couple of really cool novelties that this game introduced at the time. I mean, I don't know if they were truly novel, but they definitely kind of advertised them as a good selling point. But it has, like, cool point lighting. The first version of the game also included net play, so you can play online with your friends, or at the very least on LAN. So that's kind of cool. So here I'm going to introduce something that you may have noticed if you're very keen-eyed. It's a very, very well-known bug. But at every single save screen, when you make a save and then load it, you come back with 100 health. Now, it doesn't matter if you had under 100 health or over 100 health, you come back with 100 health. I say over 100 because there is a power-up you can pick up later in the game that gives you a free 100 health, and also allows you increases your maximum health threshold by 100. So if you're at 100 health, you immediately go to 200. So here I'm going to take it a bit safer, go with a bit more health. Yeah, so you can pretty much use every single save screen as a health refill, which is kind of cool. But that's the only real bug, so to say, in the game, because it doesn't make any actual sense. But it's extremely widely known. Like, just about every kind of manual or discussion of the game, or anyone kind of asking for help, it will bring it up. Anyway, so here we go. Finish level 5. Level 6, unfortunately, is a pretty crappy one. It has a very trolly puzzle near the end that I've attempted to make more consistent, but it still sometimes catches me off guard and can lose a lot of time. Hopefully it goes well today. Also, this level is one of the first levels that, well, I don't even know if it's one of the first ones, but it is an example of one of the levels in the game, which include multiple ways to approach the level, kind of like Duke Nukem levels. I guess it was more common in game design back in the 90s, but you're able to go through the level anyway in one of a couple of ways. You don't necessarily need to follow one linear pattern. There's pretty much two kind of different ways to go through this level, and that's also the case in a couple other levels in the game. Of course, for the speedrun, we always follow one. That's the fastest, but yeah, it is still kind of neat if you're gonna play the game casually. The game also features pretty cool music, at least in my opinion, even though I often don't listen to it while speedrunning. Yeah, so this is the puzzle I was talking about. It's pretty trolly because these enemies can knock you over. If you're in the air and you get hit, you get knocked around a lot. So in this case, you're forced to be in the air because you have to make jumps between these platforms. So yeah, dispatching some of these flying enemies is the only way to kind of make this more consistent. Luckily I got through quickly, even more quickly than I do in my PB. But yeah, this game is very heavily kind of trigger driven, so to say, which impedes the speedrun. Doesn't really help in any way. Oftentimes there's no real way to sequence break other than knowing very specifically what the trigger is. So for example, which enemy will trigger the exit to unlock or so on. So it's kind of unfortunate. There's no real glitches or major skips yet that have been found. But I don't know, at least it has that little bit of optimization in terms of loading triggers as quickly as possible. This section I habitually save before because it used to give me a lot of grief. I have since come up with a consistent way to do it, but it's just a habit to save. This level can also be a bit treacherous in the beginning. So clearly I'm not having the best of luck today, so I might as well take it as safe as possible from here on out. One other feature this game has, which again I don't know if it was really novel at the time, but it certainly is cool, is destroyable surfaces. As you saw, this floor here kind of blew out when I did enough damage to it. Often the game will have destroyable surfaces, and the cool feature that can again be used to speed up the run is that if an enemy is standing on top of a destroyable floor or standing next to it when you destroy it, that enemy would pretty much get instantly killed, regardless of how much health it has or so on. So it's something that can be used for some engagements to speed things up or save on ammo. So for example, over here, there's a whole lot of like these weird drills here on screen to kind of throw you off, but all you need to do to proceed is just kill. Holy moly! Oh, that was bad. Yeah, you just need to kill some of these enemies and the door will unlock. So here I took a lot of damage. Luckily there's a save screen right here that I can use to recover my health with minimal time loss, just for the sake of safety. I guess I can take this time to discuss the different guns in the game. So you have the basic laser rifle, which has unlimited ammo. If you run out of its ammo, so if you hit 0, you begin to shoot a bit more slowly, but you still have it, which is nice. Oh, come on, this guy likes to give me a lot of grief. The second gun is the grenade launcher, which shoots an explosive with some area damage at an arc. And then the rocket launcher, which shoots a homing rocket, again with some area damage. Here I'll save again and recover my health just to be extra safe, because I didn't like how that engagement went. After that, you have the napalm gun in number 4, or napalm launcher. That gun is extremely overpowered. The enemies that can shoot with it are extremely dangerous. Generally, the game only sends those enemies at you if it pretty much wants to guarantee a kill on the player. For example, if you have failed to do a puzzle the way the game wanted you to, it'll just try and kill you off. So it'll start sending enemies like that at you, which is a pretty mean move on the game developer's part. Over here, there's invisible triggers up there that you can hit without proceeding. What's next? Then the 5th weapon that I have right now is the pulse rifle, which just shoots projectiles in a straight line fairly quickly, doing a bit more damage than the laser rifle. I tend to use it if I have a small encounter with just like 1 or 2 enemies, or at a fair distance, or if I want to shoot down rockets or take down something specific from further away. And then there's 2 more weapons that I'm going to pick up later in the game. One is I think it's like a boomerang gun or something like that, they call it. It shoots little green projectiles that kind of bounce around. It's honestly very useless. I don't use it at all. Unless I have just, I don't know, if I'm just messing around, like if I'm feeling confident in a certain scenario. And then the last other gun is kind of what's called, oh, this is bad. Okay, there we go. I almost missed my ride. But yeah, they call it laser sword. It's kind of a melee weapon, and it just shoots in a small area in front of the player. So this elevator ride is really awful. You can very easily get knocked off the platform, which is why I saved ahead of time. And, oh, yeah, like that. Of course, I had to get knocked down, because this is a marathon run. But, yeah, the best thing you can do here is just try and stay in the middle of the platform, not jump around, because jumping will get you knocked around even harder. This is one scenario where the missile's homing is actually working against you, because you can shoot a missile forward, and you just end up, like, it just kind of curves around. This sequence is pretty bad. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and load. So you basically need to go through this corridor as quickly as possible. If you see, the background has these weird things. These are kind of mines that are on a timer. And after a couple of seconds, as you see, they start to click, and then they're all going to go off. And they pretty much instantly kill you. So you need to very quickly get through that corridor without dying. And make it out before the mines explode and insta-kill you. It's just about as bad as it sounds. That was annoying. So that was an example of the game's buffer jumping kind of getting in the way of the player. So if you happen to be holding space when you touch the ground, you automatically jump again. And that gets in the way more often than it helps you. Because the game runs at a locked 15 frames per second, your input kind of, I don't know how to say it, input detection is a bit strange. And sometimes it feels as if the game is only picking up your input like once every 65 milliseconds, which is, you know, what equates to 15 frames per second. And that's actually hard-coded in the game, by the way. So I'm playing on a source port, and I can tweak that value. So if I want, I can set what the manual calls physics update. I can set that to a lower number so the game refreshes more often. However, all that does is make the game run faster. It doesn't allow like more frames to be displayed in a way that's at all tolerable by the player. Over here, to proceed, only have to kill the left enemy, which for some reason has a lot of health. But I find the pulse rifle the best way to target it. So the good news about the run now is that I'm doing pretty well on ammunition. A lot of this speed run is good ammo management and good health management. Of course, health management being a bit more important, but ammo management follows very closely in second. So this level opens with a very awful puzzle, and it's very intricate. Effectively, you're put inside a room, the doors close behind you, and you're given the flying power-up. And immediately, these little harmless enemies begin to follow you. And once you flip the switch, you need to destroy 6 total turrets. 2 on the top of the room, 2 on the left, and 2 on the right. Oh, and I'm screwed. And if at any point one of these harmless enemies gets destroyed by the onslaught of shots being fired in the room, these death bots get released on the top left and top right corner of the room. And like I mentioned earlier, if the game ever wants to kill you, it'll send enemies that shoot napalm at you. And that's exactly what these guys do. They shoot the napalm gun, which is extremely potent. So I don't know if I'll be able to make it. Oh boy. No, this is really bad. Yeah. If they get released, you're kind of guaranteed to get killed. The thing does, I don't know the exact number, but it's easily 75 damage, and you know, right now you only have 100 health, so you're kind of guaranteed to get killed. And I thought I had come up with a safe enough setup for this, but so far it's not going too well. I think this one should get it. This one should do it. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. There was one time ever I managed to have the death bots, as I call them, get released near the very end, but they didn't kill me. I just barely snuck out with my life. That was a pretty exciting moment, but that was about it. Oh boy. Actually, I'm gonna really quickly recover my health here, because I don't feel like loading up there. Oh boy. So here, the floor gets destroyed for you, and you proceed. This area is on a timer, so you can just kind of chill in this corner. Only kill the enemies that you absolutely need to, and then wait over here for the door to appear, like this. It's okay to miss this. In fact, sometimes it's preferred, because you get to pick up the ammunition for the laser sword, which is the 6th gun? 6th? Yeah, 6th. So, this gun in the beginning of me speedrunning this game, I didn't used to be a big fan of it, but now I've come to really like it. It has, I believe, the highest DPS of any gun in the game. It can pretty much instantly kill just about any one of the enemies. So I use it in a couple of places in the run to kind of cheese the enemies and kill them before they can even land a shot on me. Here's some more destroyable floor action. Elements throughout the levels. I mean, it doesn't really help that there's not a ton of assets, so a lot of the levels kind of have the exact same look and feel. But also there's a lot of sequences that are kind of repetitive. You know, the run in the corridor while things are exploding behind you, or be put in the room with a bunch of enemies falling. You know, those kinds of things, they happen a lot, and they make it a bit tricky to learn the game, because you find it a bit confusing as to kind of where in the game you are, because you're seeing a section that reminds you a lot of the previous one. So definitely compared to other games that I've learned, this one was kind of tricky to kind of memorize in its entirety. This sequence is pretty cool. There's a bunch of rocket launchers up above and below you that fire shots at you. This strat was actually told to me by my brother. Just kind of shooting the pulse rifle or the laser sword behind you. It's a pretty safe way to kill most of the rockets before they hit you. But generally the sequence is pretty easy, because as you see, there's little health pickups appearing behind you. So for the most part, you're not going to be in trouble. This is a pretty cool sequence where you just get to eradicate a couple of generations worth of monsters in relative safety. Whenever there's a section like that in the game, it feels pretty good, man. That's all you have to do. Just kill the monsters, and the elevator gets released for you. Over here, you take advantage of this trap to kill all these monsters as they come down. Pick up some ammo and proceed. Oh, oops. Over here I'm going to save just in case, because during practice I had some difficulties. But for the most part, the thing you need to remember is that once you go through this elevator, you ignore all the pickups and go up the ladder, because very soon after, as you saw, those rocket launchers begin to shoot at you. And you have a really bad time. This here's on a timer. As you may have noticed, when I picked up the health 2 seconds ago, my health actually went down. I was at 100 and I believe 102 health, and after I picked up that health, I got down to 100. So the power-up that gives you extra health doesn't carry over when you end the level, as do all of the other power-ups. They don't carry over. So if you end the level with 150 health, you start the next level, you don't have that power-up. You do keep your health if it's over 100, but if you are to pick up any more, you get brought back down to the normal cap of 100. This sequence is pretty cool. Again, take advantage of the laser sword to save explosive ammo. Just kind of mow down these guys as they come up. Nice and safe. Over here, pick up some ammo for the napalm gun. As I mentioned, the napalm gun is very, very, very powerful, extremely potent, and as a result, I effectively hoard it. During my current strats, at least, I hoard it throughout the entire speedrun, just for the final battle with the final boss. I don't use it for any engagement except one near the very end. Over here, there's a trap. If you blow out that ceiling with an explosive gun, like this, a whole bunch of enemies come down. If you heck up and do it during a speedrun, it's not a massive time loss, because they don't catch up to you. But I still prefer not to do it. So this is what I call the awful platforming level, because it has two pretty bad platforming sections. This game, when it comes to platforming, it really suffers from the fact that it's 15 frames per second. I know that normally lower FPS, I think, is supposed to make platforming simpler because you have a bigger window to get your input, but this game, as I mentioned, likes to kind of not register your inputs. So yeah. And another thing this game likes to do is make you platform up turrets like these, and then allows them to turn on while you're platforming up them. And that is always awful. There's another platforming section later in the game which is also awful, because the turrets are actually destroyable in that case. So your platform is your only means to proceed upwards, just get destroyed. So here I actually messed up. In this sequence, you're ferried up the room by this little guy carrying a ball, and there's rocket launchers that turn on and knock you down, and also potentially kill this guy. Usually it's very easy to not mess up and not fall off, but yeah, in this case, because it's marathon luck, I was not that fortunate. In this case, oh boy, flying enemies are always really bad in this game. Over here, use the high DPS of the laser sword to break that floor more quickly. Normally, you have to otherwise wait or waste better ammo on it. So this is the second platforming section in this level that's pretty bad. You have two jumps, this one and this one. Nice, I nailed it. Even in my PB, I don't nail that first try. But yeah, that can be pretty bad. The first jump, you have about 2 or 3 pixels worth of space to make it, to get your jump input registered and be close enough to the edge. Whereas the second jump, you literally have about 1 pixel that you have to stand on and get your jump input registered on the correct time to get across. In this level, you notice I went down and up an elevator for no apparent reason. You literally have to. For some reason, there's a trigger at the base of that shaft that you need to hit in order for those doors to begin to open. It's quite lame. Here's another case of just shoot behind you and continue forward. Pretty much the safest way to go through the game. Just hit them before they hit you. Here, try and take advantage of destroyable walls to blow up some of those enemies. And then here, take advantage of destroyable floors. This section there's rocket launchers in that corner sometimes that sometimes get destroyed by the explosions and sometimes they don't. Here I'm gonna save because I'm getting awful luck, but even in any run, at least once I end up saving. So the way this sequence works is you need to hit a switch on the left. Oh wow, that was a cool damage boost. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue, but that was incredibly ideal. That kind of thing generally doesn't happen. Also, this sequence can sometimes be dangerous because there's, well, a crap ton of enemies ahead of you. But literally just today, while practicing, I came up with the strat of using the laser sword to kind of mow them down before they get you. And then in this level, the level exit is kind of hidden on the side of that shaft that you fall down. The level is pretty much designed so that you have to miss it at least once, and then find it either when you're returning because you're lost, or because you saw it in the last moment. But either way, the level is designed so that you have to backtrack. Just kind of lame. Over here is coming up the, in my opinion, the worst platforming section of the game. Because, like I mentioned, like I alluded to earlier, you have to once again platform your way up turrets, which can be destroyed in this case. And also these turrets shoot rockets just to make things even sweeter for the player. And also there's enemies chasing you, and the enemies can also destroy the turrets. So you pretty much have exactly one chance to get it perfectly right, and that was it. Awesome. I have been getting pretty good luck with this lately in runs and practice, but it's never too late for things to go to hell, as I experienced firsthand during this run. Well, yeah, also during practice today, for some reason, this section got, like, low-key soft-locked. For some reason, like, the last enemy that needs to be killed to trigger the door to open didn't, like, appear, or got stuck somewhere out of bounds, which is very uncool. Also, those guys are still alive, and from all my experience, they all need to be killed, but... well, there we go. That was, I guess, the game looking out for me. So far, apart from my death, and that one time that I fell down the elevator shaft on level 8, this run has been going quite well. Over here there's a section where I can get some pretty good luck or some bad luck. Yeah, that was the bad luck. The good luck is you managing to make it across those moving platforms. But with the amount of health that I have right now, it should go okay. The only downside is that I'm blowing through ammo, but that's okay. Come on. Here I need to be safe. There's a lot of rocket launchers that I need to kind of kill before they shoot at me. Come on. Anyway, that was okay. It went fine. We got through, and we're going to continue to the next level. So, this might look familiar. This is level 17, and the first part of level 17 rehashes the first part of level 1 in its entirety. This is, like, bit for bit, the entire opening of not level 1, sorry, level 0. And then here is where it changes. Whoa, this didn't die. Holy moly. Luckily, you're forced to interact with some of these saving screens, so you get to recover your health without wasting too much time, because you need to interact with it at least once. So might as well also recover the health. And then that same thing happens again at the end of this hallway as well. If my health got too low, but I think in this case it should be fine. Sure, clearly my famous last words. Here, once again, we get some destructible floors. And then we're pretty much near the end of this level. The end of the game is nearing very quickly. There's not too much that's left. There's a couple of hard parts, but for the most part, we're in there. This is what I like to call one of the last bigger encounters, and I've come up with some safe strats, and also fast strats and efficient strats to go through it. So for example, I'm going to efficiently use the laser sword to cut these guys off before they can even do anything. Like this. Then I'm going to use the pulse rifle to blow up the rocket launchers as soon as they turn on. Like, a lot of the speedrunning of this game is in coming up with safe ways and consistent ways to go through the level. And I guess on average I would say consistency is key. So if you come up with a consistent strat, that's worth much more than necessarily a very safe one. Over here, it's coming up a pretty annoying section with some RNG. If these enemies knock you around too much, you get kind of flung sideways, and you don't pick up the flying power-up. Luckily, that didn't happen. I did manage to pick it up. If you do get knocked around, yeah, you fall down, and you need to take an elevator up, while also taking care of a bunch of enemies. So, yeah, it's not ideal. Right now I'm running somewhat low on ammo. This is usually not here. Yeah, right now I'm kind of running low on ammo. Holy crap. That has never happened. I don't know what happened there. Luckily I managed to make it to the end, and luckily every level has a save screen at the beginning. But yeah, like I said, I'm running somewhat low on ammo. That's not a good thing. Oh yeah, there's also this level. This is what I call like the last really awful level. Holy moly. And to make things even better, A, I'm almost fully out of ammo, but B, there's also these guys. I have my handy pulse rifle, but yeah, I'm fully out of area damage ammunition, which is very bad. Very bad. Over here, you need to do some fast platforming before these guys catch up to you and knock you down. Holy moly, let me go up. And it sucks that I don't even have, like, ammo to dispatch them, you know, because generally in this game, if you have ammo, you can defend yourself by stunning the enemies before they can get you, you know? But, anyway, pick up some ammo here. This is a little strat that I came up with to take care of that puzzle, and then we're just about in there. All that's left is just one very quick last level and then the final boss. Level 20. So, this level is, starts off with running away from explosion sequence, and it's timed such that you pretty much need to not stop moving. And over here you get to pick up the speed booster, and you also need to be using that speed booster the second you pick it up, because as you see, the explosions catch up to you even with the speed boost. And then after that, there is one big engagement coming up, but I've come up with some very consistent and safe strats to take care of that engagement, so I'm not going to be sweating. Over here, you get to really quickly dispatch these guys. Oh, actually, I'm low on ammo. I have no laser sword ammo, so I won't get to use my safe strats. But what I normally do here is I use the laser sword to cut off these guys the second that they land. Luckily, in this engagement, you get a lot of health pickups in the corners, so we should be okay. And then over here, we get to, for once in the speedrun, see the prowess of the napalm launcher, which just completely eradicates anything and everything in sight in a single shot. So coming up is the final boss. The final boss is effectively two oversized teleporting enemies with randomly generated spawning and randomly kind of random behavior, and they shoot random guns. There's two of them that teleport all over the place. I use a napalm to kill them as quickly as possible, but there is a chance that one of them will use napalm on me and do a lot of damage, but that didn't happen. So you kill the two of them, you fall down, you run, and get ready for time. That's it. Oh boy. So you flip the switch, turn off the water supply, and prevent the abuse gene from spreading to the rest of the world. You get to look at abuse guys' disgusting abs and offset eyes, and then you get the rest of the story kind of read out to you. Also, congratulations, you're howling. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Sorry for kind of hacking up the beginning of the run. Hope you enjoyed this game. thanks for having me. I'll be back at the end of the week with 2 more much less interesting runs that hopefully go a bit better. Yeah, enjoy the rest of the marathon.